Hey friends, today I want to do something a little different. I want to read a little portion of my book, something I'm working on. But before that, let me introduce myself. I am C. Henry John. The C stands for Chike. I'm a writer and I'm a photographer. And I also love music, so I dabble in a bit of music, creating music and playing music, and of course, listening to all sorts of weird kinds of music. And I also recently released a short story, The Ranch, and it's available on Amazon. Check it out, read it, leave a review, and tell me what you think about it. So like I said earlier, I want to read portions of a book. Perhaps I would read the prologue and the first chapter. I am not certain about the title of the book yet, but I already have a working title. I'm not sure I'll stick with it for now, but we'll see as time goes by. So I begin. Two lords ruled in the Makena. One ruled in the darkness of the shadow, the other by the brightness of the fire. Eons passed, and a war ensued. The last embers of fire died at the valley of Ires. 1,000 years the shadow reigned, but the flame returned, and the Dark Lord surrendered. And so began the Third Age, a time of peace and prosperity. But those who watch speak of the end of the age. Darkness shall return not only to the Makena, but to throw the whole earth into a dance of old, a dance of shadow and fire. Chapter 1. It had only been a few hours, but it felt like a lifetime of silence. When the darkness finally cleared, there was no creature left alive. Streams and wells had dried up. The once verdant village in the north of a vast forest had become a graveyard of stillness. Like a forest touched by heavy showers of flame, yet there was neither ash nor soot in sight. The life of the village had been consumed by the short reign of darkness. Even the creatures of the sky ceased from flying above this doomed land, for the air was drenched in gloom. Such was the fate of Kabasu. Men, women, and children had been consumed by the power of darkness, all except one. That morning at first light, the boy had wandered far from home, deep into the forest until he came upon a pristine blue river. The waters flowed so quietly he couldn't hear it until he drew closer. "Where did this appear from?" he whispered. He looked eastwards and noticed the river came from a cave. He also noticed something peculiar. By the edge of the river, a few feet from the mouth of the cave, stood a 5-sided hut that seemed like it had been there since the beginning of time. How can anyone build a dwelling in such a secluded place? Perhaps it's a hideout, or a place children come to play, perhaps wanderers like himself. Thirsty due to the long hike, the boy approached the river and scooped a handful of water. It was the most refreshing drink he had ever had, and so he scooped another, then another. Satisfied, he washed his face and head and stood up. It was time to return home, the boy decided, but a voice from the hut called out to him. He felt it was wiser to run home, yet it seemed he had surrendered his will to the lure of the voice. He resisted. The voice was soft and gentle at first, but as the boy kept resisting, the voice grew impatient. "Get into the hut, you impertinent child," the voice echoed. Shedding his restraint, the boy walked quickly into the hut. It was a pleasant surprise. Unlike the exterior, the interior looked new. It seemed like a place people lived in. The mud walls smelled fresh, and all around were chairs and tables made with polished wood. On one corner was a bamboo platform with thick layers of raffia palms. The boy looked around for the person who called to him, but the hut was empty except for the crackling sounds from a fireplace. It was then the boy realized the temperature inside the hut was drastically different from the temperature in the forest. Perhaps it was the river. The ambience in the hut began to lull him. He sat down on the bed and quickly slumped over. It was the chirpings of the morning birds that woke him up, but they were not singing their usual songs of joy. They sang a mournful dirge, for it was a season of mourning. He had slept all evening and through the night. Walking out of the hut, he was drowned in an unusual feeling of anxiety. It was a strange and new feeling. Forgetting to look at the river or anything else, he tried to retrace his steps, walking as fast as his leg could carry him. When the forest became less dense, he knew home was not far, but he could no longer hear the flowing streams that gave water to the village. He could not hear the voices and sounds of activities that were a constant feature in Kabasu, sounds of hammers meeting steel. The Kabasu people were excellent blacksmiths. The road was close to home, but there was no sign of life. He came to the place the villagers referred to as the entrance of the village, an enormous baobab tree that had massive branches that stretched to every direction. What he saw was a withered mass like the skeleton of a long dead giant. Was he dreaming? He thought. Perhaps he was still asleep in the mysterious hut, but he heard a noise. Something was speeding through the forest faster than any man could run. The boy wanted to run, but his feet were frozen with fear. He turned facing the direction of the sound, and soon he was face to face with another mystery. Too terrified to move, he shut his eyes and surrendered himself to fate. Surely the beast will make a quick work of him. Yet, when the beast got closer, it made no move to devour him. He opened his eyes and looked up. There was a man sitting on the back of the beast, a black stallion. This time he was certain he was dreaming. The black horse riders were a recurring theme in countless Makena myths, sentinels who kept watch not for the army of men, but for the hordes of evil. These black horses were no ordinary animals. They were known for their great size and supernatural speed. It was said that at top speed, the rider felt as if they were flying, hence the name Black Kites. "Who are you?" the man asked. The boy was still too shaken to respond. The man withdrew and asked with a polished wooden handle and a bronze head. It was certainly a Kabasu weapon. A bronze head meant the weapon was light but durable. Not much of a burden to carry, thus suitable for long expeditions. "My axe hasn't tasted blood in a long time. It's thirsty, so I ask again, but I won't ask a third time. Who are you?" This was no dream, the boy thought. Shaking, he answered, "My name is Badru, son of Pavik, from the Kaba clan." The boy didn't think before speaking out. He had been warned not to declare his true identity. Sorry about that. My nephew came in with his squad, so I had to stop it for a bit. All right, so let's continue. Kaba clan, the man replied, the founding family of Kabasu. The man returned his axe. "How are you alive when the entire village is dead?" There was a loud screeching sound before the boy could reply. "Runsho," the man whispered. "They are still here. Stay with Ie." He was referring to the horse, a gentle name for a fierce-looking beast. The man descended from the horse, landing as if he was feather light, tall and lean with pronounced cheekbones, his hair braided in cornrows. He looked too handsome to be a sentinel, the boy thought. He retrieved 2 axes from a pouch on each side of the horse. "Stay here," he instructed. His stealth was impeccable, as if he was a ghost. He hid behind a tall root and started whistling. It attracted 2 of the vilest creatures the boy had ever seen. They had the body of a man, but with heads like lizards and tails like scorpions. The man kept whistling until they were close to him. He raised his head up and threw an axe that went right into the middle of one of the creatures. It fell backwards with the axe still stuck to its head. The other creature saw him and attacked, screaming in anger. The man jumped over the root and walked confidently to meet the creature. Nearing the man, the creature extended its claws and reached for his neck, but the man slid underneath its legs and took off its tail as he stood up. Readjusting its body for another attempt, the man made a clean swipe of both hands. The creature was shrieking in pain even as the man kicked it to the ground. "Why are you here?" the man asked in a language the boy didn't comprehend. The man and the beast continued their brief conversation before he severed the head of the creature. "I suspect you are the reason they came," the man said to the boy. "They wanted to finish the job. Come, we must alert the other villages. I need to search for my grandparents. I can't just leave." "Look around you. Nothing survives such evil onslaught. You risk facing more of them if we don't leave now." He cleaned his axes thoroughly before returning them to the pouch. Runsho can smell the blood of each other for half a mile, and a dead Runsho signals to the others that the order of the sentinels is alive. He mounted the beast and stretched his hand to help the boy up. The boy took one last look at what used to be Kebasu and took the hand of the man. "I thought the black kite tamers were a myth." "Black kite tamers?" He laughed. "The stallions we ride cannot be tamed. We are fellow warriors in the battle against evil." "So, are you telling me the myths are true, sir?" "Call me Goke, my dear Badru. There is a lot to be learned. I too am on a journey of discovery." They rode quietly for a while before Goke continued. "Sometimes legends and myths are born out of the imaginations of men. Tales woven with symbols, sometimes subtle, sometimes brazen. Tales to teach and to instruct, to warn and to rebuke, to delight and to entertain. But the story of the Makena forest and the genesis of the 7 villages isn't the stuff of imagination. The story is true, but many moons have passed, and what remained are scanty reminders of what was. The sages have said that those who forget the paths of old are often lost in the maze of confusion. It is a known fact that most people who live in the 7 villages have forgotten their history, how their forefathers conquered the darkness that dwelled in the forest and laid the foundations of the 7 villages. Prosperity and peace had made them complacent, and those who were to keep watch had failed to read the signs and prepare for the season. The inhabitants of the village have one duty to perform, and they have forgotten what it is. The darkness is spreading. It is poised to overtake the world. Doomsday is on the horizon, and the army of men sworn to defend mankind against it have sheathed their swords in complacency. End of chapter 1. So, there it is. Like I said, not sure about the title yet, but leave a comment in the description, leave a comment in the comment section, and tell me what you think about it. Tell me if you want to hear more of it. If I can get, let me be very minimal with my expectations. If I can get 10 people who want me to continue, then I'll see if I can read the second chapter. But yeah, but that's it. It's really been an interesting journey into writing these books. You know, open my eyes to so many myths and legends. And part of the reason I think I was motivated to do this is because we look at other folks, you know, the Tolkiens and the C.S. Lewis's and the likes. They created their fantasies, their epic tales and all that from existing folklore. And so what I'm doing with my works is trying to also bring some of these elements from African myths and legends and tales and give them some meat, give them some life, and keep them in that same fantasy genre. Just, you know, variety is the spice of life, they say. So once again, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a like, consider subscribing, and also remember to check the book The Ranch by C. Henry John on Amazon. Thanks again. See you in the next video.